Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
We have some new reaction now from the White House to the very difficult, tragic situation that unfolded in Minneapolis yesterday, the fatal shooting of 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Preddy by federal officers. Now, President Trump has deployed border czar Tom Homan on his way to Minnesota right now. And the president made clear in his statement on Truth Social that Homan will report directly to President
I've watched
Trump
entire
when it
realities
comes to
consumed
this
by
issue in Minneapolis.
You don't have to
and
be a
Minnesota,
witch to find the magic
so meanwhile,
in
the
this
president
world.
says that he had
But
a
it
very
does
good
help.
call
30
with
seconds
Minnesota
before you
Governor
attack.
Tim
Get
Walz.
ready.
Walz says that President Trump, quote, agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota. That's what we're hearing from the Walz side. Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf is here, but first, senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich reporting live from the North Lawn. Hi, Jackie.
But it does help.
Hey, Martha. Yeah, President Trump and Governor Walz both struck a pretty conciliatory tone after that surprise call this afternoon. The president saying that Walz was respectful, happy that he's sending Tom Homan to Minnesota. Walz, for his part, made note of the president's plan, according to him, to reduce the number of federal agents in the state in exchange, basically, for more coordination between federal officials and state officials on immigration enforcement, especially for violent criminals. The White House said this afternoon in the briefing that if state officials turn over criminal illegal aliens that are in their custody in jails and prisons, plus any aliens with active warrants or no criminal histories, and any aliens who are arrested by local police, then the administration will withdraw Customs and Border Patrol from the area and let ICE work in coordination with local law enforcement as in other parts of the country. The press secretary also successfully dodged a number of questions about why the president is now sending border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis if he is in fact happy with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's handling of the fallout after the
target.
Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States. Of course, Secretary Noem is also in charge of FEMA, and we are in the wake of a brutal winter storm where hundreds of thousands of Americans have been impacted by that. So, Border Czar Homan is in a unique position to drop everything and go to Minnesota to continue having these productive conversations with state and local officials.
Although Noem issued a statement criticizing his appointment of Homan, the two are well-known risks. This decision was viewed internally as a response to unrest among rank-and-file members, with DHS leadership's statements in the immediate aftermath, specifically claiming that Alex Preddy intended to massacre
the Sorcerer Supreme returns.
Indeed. All right. Thank you, Jackie, very much. And with that, we bring in Chad Wolf, former acting DHS Secretary, now Homeland Security and Immigration Chair at the America First Policy Institute. Chad, thank you very much. It's great to see you. Great to have you with us. There's been some reporting over the weekend about what folks within that the PR was very, very difficult for them in terms of the way that they're being interpreted. This is over at CNN, reporting from Harry Enton on why he thinks you're seeing some of these changes with Tom Homan heading to Minnesota.
I am fighting every day to make amends.
I'm not really surprised that President Trump is setting Tom Homan in because ICE, DHS, have been a political disaster. Because just take a look here. I mean, ICE's net approval rating during Trump's term. You go back to term number one. Look, it was pretty even, 0 points. After Minneapolis, it's even lower.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
On the net approval rating of ICE. Of course, this is all being done under Kristi Noem. So, no, what's going on in Minneapolis is not popular at all.
Chad, welcome. We just heard from Caroline Leavitt that the president has confidence in Kristi Noem. But, as someone who was in the former administration, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see changes made in personnel?
Right there. Focus on the battle.
Well, we certainly could. Look, here's what I will tell you is that those DHS law enforcement officers at ICE, at CBP, they absolutely love President Trump. Why? Because he has their back. He supports them. So most of these officers, obviously, this is their career. This is what they do. And the vast majority of their operations are done outside. They're not done on CNN and Fox and elsewhere all day, every day. And so I think they are always concerned. Is this getting out of control? Are we politicizing what they do, which is just enforcing the law? It's not political in their minds. It's just simply the law is immigration enforcement, and this is what we're doing. So if there are concerns, those are likely in. Having the president send Tom Homan up there, I think is just a stroke of genius. I think Tom is exactly the right person. Why? Because he is also a career law enforcement. He's an operator. He knows exactly what needs to be done. Where can we get a win for both so that we can bring the violence and the chaos down, but that ICE can continue to do their mission. I think it's important to remember, ICE is there to arrest illegal aliens, and it's much better to do that with local law enforcement. So if Tom Homan can get local law enforcement involved in assisting ICE, however that looks, whether that's protecting them while they do the mission, wherever it might be, I think that's a win.
Yeah, I mean, the situation in Minnesota is so completely different from what we're seeing in other states around the country. And it's hard to ignore that one of the different factors here is that there's Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey, who have been sort of fueling the fires of tension, talking about Nazism, all of this. So it's no surprise when your leaders of your state are telling you that this is a Gestapo-type situation. Those tensions are going to rise. There's nobody between those ICE agents and the protesters because local law enforcement won't help. But we just heard from President Trump that he had a good conversation with Governor Walz. What kind of negotiation can you envision? We just heard some outlines of what it might look like from Jackie Heinrich. But what do you see as a negotiation here to get somewhere towards a more peaceful situation?
But I have an image to maintain.
Well, sure. I think, I would assume that the president wants to make a deal. This is sort of how he operates throughout his tenure, which is he wants to have ICE to be able to do their job. He wants to make sure that they enforce the law, that we're arresting the worst of the worst and the criminals. And to have local law enforcement support that. And if you do that, then perhaps over a period of weeks you can withdraw some of those ICE resources and CBP resources because they're not all doing that immigration enforcement mission. A lot of them are doing riot control and crowd control and things that local police should be doing, state police could be doing. And so I do think that there's a deal here to be made, but you got to be willing to talk to one another. You've got to be willing to say, look, we have a job to do. So if the governor says, well, the only criteria is that you remove ICE, well, then I don't think the discussions are going to go very far. But if he's willing to give a little bit, I think you'll find that Tom Homan and the president are willing to give a little bit, and you still have ICE there doing its mission, arresting very bad individuals, but maybe the footprint looks a little different.
Chad Wolf, thank you very much. We know that one thing that they want is to be able to get into the jail system there and take some of the people who have detainers against them. And maybe that is a point of deal making here in Minneapolis. But it seems like the governor is ready to try to calm some things down here. There goes one of them. There hasn't been like that so far in these tensions increasing. So Chad, thank you very much. I wish you could see you. Chad Wolf joining us from DC.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Make the cut!
Us against the world!
Borders are Tom Homan, a war of words with Boston's mayor after ICE arrested nearly 400 migrants in Massachusetts. Multiple operations involving several different Molly London, hey Molly, and we're now on this side of it. Hello.
Be right back.
Good morning, Bill. Well, infuriated by the sanctuary city policies of Boston and many of the communities here in Massachusetts, Tom Homan, remember this promise, he promised to come to Boston. He revealed that he has now done it. That famous promise was to bring help to this city, and he arrived last Tuesday, kicking off a 5-day operation, including multiple agencies, the FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, and the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Boston and Massachusetts safer from the operation they did last week. And we won't go back again.
He also relayed his frustrations on X, writing of numerous child rapists. Quote, ICE had to find and arrest these illegal alien rapists because Massachusetts and Boston are sanctuaries that refuse to cooperate with ICE. Homan slammed the Bay State's Democratic leadership, saying Governor Maura Healey and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu should be ashamed of supporting sanctuary policies. Healey promptly pushed back, highlighting her work as a former prosecutor, writing, Massachusetts is not a sanctuary state, and Massachusetts law enforcement regularly partners with federal agencies and federal law enforcement to keep people safe. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, the Massachusetts State Police were brought to the White House, recognized by President Trump and Attorney General Bondi for our partnership in arresting 24 members of a violent gang and fentanyl trafficking ring in Lawrence. And we also reached out to the mayor's office. The response from the city came from a spokesperson who questioned ICE actions. The spokesperson writing, we cannot confirm whether every individual was lawfully detained. We strongly urge ICE to release information on all the individuals detained in order to ensure transparency. Bill?
Okay, Molly. More to come on this early. Molly Live, thanks, and Boston.
And Amy Cannavale is a Massachusetts Republican chair, and you've got your work cut out for you up there. And this issue might help. And here's another thing Maura Healey said to Tom Homan, that Massachusetts isn't just doing this public safety work. We are a model for it. We are ranked as one of the safest states in the country for a reason, and we are going to stay that way. Do you get the sense that that's how people of Boston or Massachusetts feel?
Thank you, Dana. The fact of the matter is our governor and our mayor of Boston are not cooperating with ICE on detainer requests. And the fact that Massachusetts is far safer today than it was just 1 week ago, thanks to President Trump and Tom Homan, means that our families in Massachusetts are safer. And our progressive governor and our progressive mayor of Boston have refused to cooperate on detainer requests. So for them to talk about the fact that they intend to cooperate is just nonsense and completely false. And Massachusetts residents see that every day on the streets of Boston.
The Boston mayor, Michelle Wu, say this for her, she sticks to her guns. This is what she said on Sunday.
This narrative that cities where more immigrants live are less safe is just simply not true. Our city is the safest major city in the country because we are safe for everyone, and also because we collaborate every day with the federal government. We're doing everything we can every day to keep people safe.
And yet you read some of the crimes that these illegal immigrants were accused of, and it doesn't feel like that would be somebody that you want to leave in your city.
Not at all. These criminal illegal aliens were accused of murder, rape, trafficking of drugs, and in fact, there was 44 kilos of methamphetamine, 5 kilos of fentanyl, 1 kilo of cocaine, 3 firearms seized over the weekend, along with these raids of the illegal criminal migrants. And again, these are individuals who are posing public safety threats. Nearly 400 individuals were seized over the weekend. Wow. And we are grateful in Massachusetts, families and citizens, that the federal government has stepped in where our progressive governor and progressive mayor have refused to do so.
This was from January, but just to give everybody a sense, just to remind you, Bill Melugin went on a ride-along in January with ICE. Watch here.
Help get that vehicle to its destination. After all this time, it's nice to finally have some help. Stick with your
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
You feel me? No fighting forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Amy, the other thing is that there's a report out of Massachusetts that illegal charged with horrific crimes are being released with stunningly low bail requirements. Is that all just part of what we want?
In some cases, the bail requirements are set as low as 500 or released on their own recognizance. And these are for incidences of child rape. So these are judicial officials appointed by Democratic administrations who are beholden to the far progressive left. And again, we are so thankful, the residents of Massachusetts, for this federal action because we are seeing these criminals released on the streets and offending again and again without consequence.
Amy, do you see any Democrats or maybe more independent voters coming towards the Republican side? Amy. Thank you for joining us. You got your work cut out for you out there. We appreciate you coming on.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmer.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
So much for maximum effort.
Behold the child!
Prosecutors charging an illegal immigrant truck driver from India with driving under the influence and 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter after they say he caused a wreck that killed 3 people. We have video of the crash and we want to warn you.
My fate isn't sealed yet.
Police say the suspect was speeding and under the influence when his semi-truck slammed into multiple cars that were stopped in traffic on the freeway. Police say he never even hit. Hello everyone, this is Outnumber. I'm Emily Compagno here with my co-hosts, Terrence Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany. And also joining us today, political analyst and John Roberts. The Department of Homeland Security confirming the suspect was caught by border enter the U.S. in 2022, but was released into the country pending armed and dangerous. Incident bringing to mind a similar deadly crash in Fort Pierce, Florida, back in August. The suspect in that case, also an illegal immigrant from India, attempted to make an illegal U-turn, causing a crash that also killed 3 people. Has since pleaded not guilty. Those 2 incidents on the heels of this from Indiana, a trucker's dash cam reporting him confronting another truck driver going the wrong way on the freeway. Watch.
Us against the world. I'm an easy target here. What are you doing? I'm hurting pretty bad over here.
I won't make the same mistakes again.
Goodbye.
Let me ask you a question, man.
My friends are here!
You are going the wrong way down the freeway.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
You are committing a felony right now.
Hey, Chad! Someone clip this!
I'm just asking because...
Behold that child! You get a weapon! You get a weapon! You get a weapon!
Turn around when you have a quick spot. Don't even move the truck. Turn your hazard lights on for one. Turn your hazard lights on now. Your hazard lights, your blinkers.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy thanking the driver who intervened on after adding, foreign truck drivers not being able to understand the rules of our roads is a crisis that is putting lives in danger. The Department of Transportation is doing the work to fix it and save lives. John Roberts, isn't this the whole point that it is about saving lives?
I mean, this is the whole point, too. Driving down the road, and how many of us are driving down the road for a political campaign or just going to work or whatever, and you're on the road like Highway 81 down in West Department of Virginia. Truck after truck after truck after truck sitting right beside the car, you're passing them, you're changing lanes. You want to believe that each and every one of the people in those trucks has taken the training necessary to be able to safely handle those trucks. When you see incidents like this, and don't forget the one, I believe it was earlier in California, the Chinese driver, the same way that happened in California, was a drove into the back of a couple of cars. Kevin Stitt got a couple weeks ago. They had a sting operation at one of their interstate trucks, in which they stopped all these trucks and they looked the driver's license. 20% of the CDLs that they looked at were...
I am ready to put on a show!
During that sting operation. So if you think that 20% of the cars on the road are being driven by people who have invalid licenses, what is the overall risk?
Absolutely frightening, as John describes, 20% are invalid. The trucks that we all employ on a daily basis, the trucks we have as we get into our cars and drive, thinking the driver next to you, in front of you, and behind you will be safe, will be sober, is valid, is legal, etc. And to learn that such a high portion have totally obliterated that truck. It's happened because of consequence. And then we have
mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
To argue this, to bring it up, is racist. It's wild to me. 1 in 5 drivers
In this sting operation.
in the sting operation have invalid CDL. 1 in 5. The whole time I was looking at these images and thinking about the story and thinking about the 3 people who were killed in this crash, all I could think about was the time when I would sit on CNN panels in 2016, 2015. And every time I'd bring up an Angel family and I'd say their name, someone who had lost their loved one to an illegal immigrant, everyone on the panel would scream at me in unison, "That's one anecdotal example. How dare you bring that up? That's just one person." No, there's many Angel families that have been a consequence of an open border. The 3 individuals in the incident that you just covered, that video we watched. How many others, the victims of these CDLs that were invalid just yesterday in Chinatown? 9 illegal immigrants caught up in an ICE sting. The charges that they face are counterfeiting, drug trafficking, drug possession, forgery, burglary. Meanwhile, in Chicago, this is all in 24 hours. This happens, by the way. In Chicago, an illegal immigrant they're seeking took a 54-year-old woman, dragged her off the street, raped her violently in an alleyway, banged her head against the concrete. She lost consciousness and was only found by a food truck driver when she was running around the streets of Chicago naked afterwards. There are so many Angel families. That's just in 24 hours. Think about the consequences of all the talking heads who ad nauseum ignored the stories of people like Sabine Durden, who lost her son. And I think about the people like President Trump, who has elevated these families, elevated these stories, and saved countless lives because of it.
And I want to focus on sort of the media's, with you, on the media's focus, the narrow aperture they have on the English-speaking requirement. Again, reducing all types of criticism or acknowledgement that the safety of the roads depends on an understanding of the rules and the English signs that we have. The wrong way on a freeway, I'm not quite sure why acknowledging this issue, this crisis, as the Secretary says, is somehow put into a racist and prejudiced box.
Have you ever tried to drive in a different country?
Probably not, right?
It can be really scary when you look at places like India where this illegal immigrants from. It's chaos on the roads there, right? They drive on a different side of the road, a different side of the car as well. So just on a base level, you can see how that's dangerous from what Secretary Duffy is saying. And you can look at places like Springfield, Ohio as well, which has been overrun relocation migrants as well with increased traffic incidents there as well as fatal increased car crashes that we've seen in Springfield, Ohio as a result of that. And then beyond this, I think Governor Gavin Newsom has to answer for this. How does an illegal alien get a commercial driver's license? And we know that we've seen a problem with the non-domiciled, commercial driver's license, which were originally intended if you're out of state to be able to get a license in a different state. But under the Biden administration, we saw this influx of illegal immigrants. You've had work status given out to certain of them, sort of the changing of the legal status for asylum seekers elsewhere, and then illegal aliens being able to obtain some of these driver's licenses. And Secretary Duffy has tried to crack down on that by raising penalties for drivers who can't speak English. He's also singled out California withheld funding as well. So this is a big problem, and I think it's very easy for viewers to understand why this is dangerous.
So Harris, when my grandparents immigrated here, my grandfather never spoke English. He worked in a chicken plucking factory. He opened a market. He was Asian in Monterey Bay. And I bring that up to say that he earned honest, work. He was engaged in respectful labor, obviously. But he didn't do something that put lives at stake because he didn't speak the language. He accepted that fact and was a contributing member of society without endangering Americans.
Well, how do you even get a commercial driver's license? And did he actually pass the test, or did he do it the right way? Like, I have a lot of questions about that because our families did do it the right way, Emily. But at the heart of this, you ask an important question. That's the part about race, playing the race card. That's just one of the many reasons in a sanctuary state jurisdiction that they want to flex so that they don't have to hold the people accountable that they would rather protect than their own citizens. I think it's on full blast. You can see this, and it's very open. So what's going to happen to this guy? He's facing this door for that other driver. He saved lives, probably including his own, by stopping that driver. I mean, think about that. Accommodation for him. I mean, you can shout his name if you shout anybody's today. But the other driver, there are many of those on the road. And so that means everybody becomes a defensive driver now against the unknown, and they'll probably get off too because of the politics being played. And yes, the race card is part of it. Sean Duffy once told me right after he became Secretary of Transportation, everything with Trump is all hands on deck. The ICE situation is also a transportation situation, right? We know that they find sex trafficked children and women in vehicles, but it's also finding drivers who shouldn't be on the roads. It really is, under this administration, all hands on deck.
And let's not forget the part of the story, too, that he was allegedly DUI and under the influence of drugs as well. So how did that part of the story come together? And now he said he was driving a big rig like that, going out, getting drunk, doing drugs, and then getting on the road.
Multiple felonies.
The God of Thunder!
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade. And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to get the hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
I'm hurting pretty bad over here.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. A packed room today. Thank you all for coming. President Trump is making America affordable again through his proven economic formula of powerful tariffs, fair trade deals, massive middle-class tax cuts, energy dominance, and aggressive deregulation. The overwhelmingly positive economic data released this week underscores the significant progress the president has already delivered. Tuesday's CPI report marked the latest confirmation that President Trump has defeated Joe Biden's inflation crisis. Since President Trump took office, core CPI has increased at just a 2.4% annualized rate, substantially lower than the 3.3% annual rate inherited from the Biden administration last January. Importantly, as inflation cools, Americans' wages are rising, giving the American people more purchasing power. And with what is likely going to be a record-breaking tax refund season in the next couple of weeks, the American people will be reaping the rewards of the massive tax cuts that were signed into law by the president. Thanks to President Trump's signing of no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, boosting the child tax credit, and locking in the 2017 Trump tax cuts, independent estimates project the average American tax filer could expect up to an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year. This is going to be a helpful boost to working families who are making it. On the energy front, the national average price for a gallon of regular gas this week fell to its lowest level in 5 years, thanks to President Trump's Joe Baby Bill agenda. According to gas prices, the average price for regular gas on Monday was below $3 per gallon in 43 states, below $2.75 per gallon in 30 states, and at or below $2.50 per gallon in 17 states. In fact, gas prices were below $2 per gallon at stations and at least 19 states. Don't forget, this was unheard of just a couple of short years ago. Overall, drivers are projected to spend $11 million less at the gas pump this year than they did last year, resulting in hundreds of dollars in critical savings for the average American family. We're also seeing the housing market rebound as borrowing costs ease and income growth outpaces home price gains. According to a new report also released this week from the National Association of Realtors, existing home sales in December rose to their fastest pace in 3 years. To further improve housing affordability, President Trump has recently announced and directed Fannie and Freddie to purchase $200 billion worth of mortgage loans. As a result of these actions, mortgage rates have fallen to their lowest level in years. As of last Friday, rates for the average 30-year mortgage are down more than 1 full percentage point. Because of these significant declines, monthly housing payments are now at their lowest level in 2 years, and we expect this decrease to continue. As someone who was enormously successful in real estate, President Trump understands that owning a home is about more than just having a physical asset. It's about empowering young people to stake their claim in the American dream. It's about giving newlyweds a place to make their own and start a family. It's about promoting the spirit of hard work, determination, and yes, the rugged individualism that has made America the greatest country in the history of the world. President Trump knows America is strongest when it's a nation of owners, not renters, and he is determined to unlock that opportunity for as many Americans as possible. That's why he will outline additional housing initiatives during his major speech in Davos next week. And we look forward to seeing many of you there. Finally, this morning, President Trump unveiled a healthcare plan for America called the Great Healthcare Plan, and a video message detailing the solutions to lower costs for all Americans and significantly improve our healthcare system. The Great Healthcare Plan will accomplish this through 4 common sense pillars. Number 1, permanently lowering prescription drug prices. Congress can get this done by codifying President Trump's historic Most Favored Nation initiatives into law to guarantee Americans the same low prices for prescription drugs that people in other countries around the world pay. Additionally, by increasing consumer choice by making more verified, safe pharmaceutical drugs available for over-the-counter purchases. Number 2, the Great Healthcare Plan will stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. Additionally, by funding a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans and ending kickbacks from pharmacy benefit managers to large brokerage middlemen.
Pick your hero.
She tried to grab a flashbang grenade. That's what you're looking at right there. We'll play the video for you. It's a woman in Minnesota who tried to grab a flashbang grenade. And I love this. I love this. Conservatives are all mocking this person. They're laughing. They're saying, is this really what we're up against? How are these people going to do anything to stop the U.S. government?
Large-scale protests continue in Minneapolis as a court hearing is scheduled for today after a Trump-approved judge ordered DHS to preserve all evidence in the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty, following a lawsuit filed by the state. DHS says the 37-year-old ICU nurse was armed when a Border Patrol agent shot and killed him. We want to warn you, this footage may be hard to watch.
Shouldn't that have earned us your respect instead of your ire?
It did. I have chosen to help you transcend what your genetics allow.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it? Protective shield. Perfect. To the web of life and destiny. I'm hurt. See them? Right there. I suck.
Senator General Todd Williams joining us now, and Todd, we stopped the tape before shots right now, but I want to get quickly your reaction to this hearing coming up today. This judge issuing a TRO on altering or destroying evidence.
The mission area is yours to capture now.
We'll be in court today. There's an ongoing investigation, as we've said all weekend, and obviously we're not destroying evidence, and so to the extent that the state of Minnesota wants to make this a show and go to the judge to insist that we do something we're absolutely not going to do, we'll be there. But this was a tragic situation that happened, and the fact that now we're going to go to court to say exactly what we're doing, which is, of course, we're investigating. We always investigate any conduct like this, any shooting like this, and of everything that happened. But it is extraordinarily important that we do not jump to conclusions about anything that happened on Saturday morning. And remember, what we saw on Saturday morning, what we all saw in that 10-15 second video is not the whole story. And every American should know that. The story goes way beyond that. It starts with the fact that literally for months we have received zero assistance from the state of Minnesota and any assistance from law enforcement. And it leads to what you saw on Saturday morning, which is control rioters and the traffic situation.
I want to get to what we saw and how the DOJ characterizes what is is available to us. But I do want to play for you. Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison is basically saying that you guys are not preserving the crime scene. Listen here. Here's what he said.
I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, or whatever. But you should at least be in favor of conserving evidence.
This shield should do nicely.
In a homicide. And to have to go get an order from a judge to preserve that evidence is extraordinary. And it should alarm everyone who believes in equal justice under the law. And who believes that every person, no matter how this case ultimately is resolved, deserves to have their case investigated.
First of all, that was a bald-faced lie, and it's disgusting that the Attorney General at a time like this will come out with that disgusting as the governor himself knows, as the Attorney General knows, as the mayor knows. After the incident happened, law enforcement, local law enforcement decided to firepower. They lost the crime scene. Protesters and rioters overtook that crime scene. It was not federal law enforcement. It was not Border Patrol agents that did not preserve the crime scene. That is just blatantly false. And so it would do everybody in this country a lot better if honesty were spoken from the leadership in Minnesota. But we're gonna continue to do what we do every day, which is the right thing and investigate and go from there.
Todd, I want to dive into the frustrations of DHS. My colleague Malaysia is reporting about the DHS's rhetoric. Here's a quote from his reporting saying there is extreme internal frustration with DHS officials going on television and putting out statements to describe Alex Freddie as a domestic terrorist who is there to inflict maximum damage on federal agents or conduct a massacre, even after these claims appear to be inaccurate. Some sources have described DHS's response to the shooting as a case study on how not to do crisis PR. One said they're so fed up they wish they could retire, and another says DHS is making the situation worse, and even another adding DHS is wrong and we are losing this war. We are losing the base and the narrative. This is coming to a head, Todd. I ask you, based on the DOJ's purview, do the actions of Alex Freddie amount to domestic terrorism?
Look, it's an investigation, so I'm not going to prejudge what his actions were or not. But there's two things that have to be part of this narrative. There are two very important points that have to be part of the story that we're talking about. Number one is the reason why that happened on Saturday is because we get zero cooperation from police. DHS, Border Patrol, operates in 50 states, doing hundreds of isolated, targeted arrests every day. There is one city where we see this outrage. One city, and that's Minneapolis. And so they come after...
With all due respect, sir, my question is more pointed. Do you believe your colleagues may have gone farther? You are an attorney at DOJ. 18 U.S. Code 2331 has a legal definition of domestic terrorism, and it doesn't appear to most of the country that have watched the available video, and we'll see if there's body cam video. I'd love to know if that's going to come out, if there was such a thing, but it does not appear to have met that definition of domestic terrorism. So I'm just sort of wondering how you in the DOJ are viewing whether your colleagues may have gone too far.
Look, I don't think anybody thinks that they were comparing what happened on Saturday to the legal definition of domestic terrorism. By the eye of Agamotto! Very violent I am not going to prejudge the facts. You're right, there's a bunch of video that's out there. There's a bunch of video that we haven't seen yet. In the minutes leading to what happened and in what happened afterwards. And you're right, to the extent there's body cam or other videos that witnesses are still... The moon haunts you! I'm not describing it as anything except for a tragedy, but I do not believe it is fair. It is not fair for the narrative to be around something DHS said. It is not fair for the narrative to be around video shows over 10 seconds when the real true story here is something much bigger and much more problematic that the American people have to recognize, which is that in one city we have this outrage and this powder cake happening, and it's not right, and it doesn't happen anywhere else, and it's simply because of one reason, and that's leadership in that state. When there was all the focus on the billions and billions of dollars in fraud, suddenly Minneapolis becomes a powder cake, and the people that caused that to happen were the governor, the mayor, the attorney general, Omar. They're the point that decided rather to not to peacefully protest, but to go out and do exactly what was happening on Saturday morning. And so there was a powder cave, and it was absolutely lit by that leadership.
Deputy Attorney General Tom Blanchard, we appreciate your time. We look forward to following these details in that court hearing today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
By the shades of the Seraphim, I return.
And a Fox News alert with an American buildup in the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier CENTCOM Walrus in the Indian Ocean. And the Islamic Republic is responding with threats. It says its Revolutionary Guard is more ready than ever, finger on the trigger to execute the orders and directives of Commander-in-Chief. General Jack Keane joins us now. Michael Waltz is the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and this is what he said about the President of Mexico.
This is a big spot for the UN's own figures are saying now up to 18,000, although it looks like it may be President Trump is going to take measured steps in the sense of making sure our bases are protected and we're putting assets
By the eye of Agamotto!
Well, first of all, I mean, this appears to be a bloodbath that compares to nothing else in terms of the horror that this regime has inflicted on its own people
I have unfinished
for 45 plus
business here.
years. These numbers are absolutely staggering. And just dealing anecdotally with people on the street, that now that the internet is beginning to open up, they keep telling me that the people that are guarding them now and forcing them not to come out of their homes, most of them speak Arabic, not Farsi. So they have brought in militias from other countries to help them do this dirty deed. Listen, I think where we are with this, Dana and Bill, is that this massacre sees anything as I indicated, and the president said he was going to help, and I believe he's going to do just that. Two things are really at stake here. The regime is the weakest it's ever been in this history, politically, economically, and militarily. And I do believe an appropriate strike, obviously to avenge what has taken place here. Also, the president gave his word, I think he'll fulfill it. But what the intention has to be is to further weaken the regime and put it on a pathway to its collapse. If they did nothing, then we're going to send a lifeline to the regime that will help extend the regime. If we try to negotiate with them, that'll do much the same. It legitimizes the regime, and it's a gut punch to the protesters involved here. We have to see the opportunity that's in front of it. A military strike by itself would probably not cause an immediate collapse of the regime, but it will certainly put them on the pathway to it because, as I indicated before, they've never been so weak. And yes, Iran has the means to retaliate, but they don't want to go to war with the United States. That guarantees them the loss of the regime, despite the bluster of their comments that they've made.
Okay, so that's Iran. Now let's go to Russia, Ukraine. And President Zelensky has said that he is ready to sign a U.S. security guarantee. He says it's 100% a sure thing. Watch here.
Bilateral security guarantees with the United States of America. The document is 100% ready. We are waiting for our partners to be ready to set a date for signing it. After that, the document will go for ratification to the U.S. Congress and to the Ukrainian Parliament in accordance with our agreements.
30 seconds before you attack.
What do we need to know about where this
He'll be coming in
takes
30 seconds. Stay strong.
Well, I think that's a lot of progress that has been made to get to the point where everyone, in terms of President Zelensky, the United States, and the Europeans, all agree on these security guarantees, which will have, obviously, forces on the ground, capability in the air, and capability at sea, all with the purpose of making certain that if there is a peace agreement, Russia is deterred from violating that agreement like they have violated every other agreement under Putin's dictatorship. Because that, we know where he is on that. He will try to take advantage of it. And it has to be enduring beyond the president. That is why it should go to the Congress of the United States and also the parliaments of the European nations who are providing the forces, the so-called coalition of the willing. This is a big step in the right direction, but let's be frank about this. It's unlikely that Russia will go along with this, as they're already saying they disagree with the land deal that's on the table. It's the one issue they believe is still unresolved. And Russia, to date, despite rhetoric that we hear from them, in terms of tangible concessions, they have not made one tangible concession yet. That's a fact. And they may be having an emissary talk about concessions, but Putin actually making the concession hasn't happened yet. It remains to be seen if they're going to do anything dealing with the security guarantees and certainly the land issue that's yet to be unresolved.
Helpful reminder as we follow this issue because a week going on a Monday with General Jack.
Have a great day.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart, and click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most
put on a show.
analysis.
All right, let's go to former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss. And Liz, on the topic of Greenland, we don't know a lot about the deal, but based upon what we ultimately do know, is this a win for the U.S. and European allies alike?
Well, I think it's something that needed to happen. The Arctic has become a key geostrategic field where there is huge threat from Russia and China. Something needed to happen, and I'm glad that there is now a framework where
from the President Trump on this framework yesterday. Listen.
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. We'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gives us everything we needed to get. It puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals.
Let's be absolutely realistic. This was always the most likely outcome. Troops on the ground invading, quote-unquote, Greenland was likely never going to happen. So why did European leaders nevertheless push back so much against President Trump on a move that ultimately makes them more secure from threats like Russia and China?
At last, our enemies show themselves. Well, European leaders are still living in the old world. They call it the international rules-based global order. Unfortunately, what we've seen is the United Nations has become pretty much defunct. It doesn't work anymore. The World Trade Organization has become defunct. That world has gone. And these leaders are still clinging on to it. And as President Trump so Europe is in a strategically weak position. It hasn't contributed enough to NATO over the years. It hasn't sorted out its own economies, and that is why they're in the position they're in, but they're still in denial. And I feel like we've been through this before, where President Trump shakes their cage, there's a commotion, and then eventually it gets to a deal that works for everyone.
Can I ask you a very elemental question on the UN? I'm really glad you brought that up, because we have heard European leaders bloviate about how this Board of Peace that Donald Trump is about to sign an agreement for any moment now is going to destroy the UN. We've heard a soundbite there in Edward Lawrence's piece that that's going to destroy the world order. My very elemental question for you is,
the moon haunts you!
Most of the things it does are bad. And we have this case in Britain of the Chagos Islands, which Britain is giving away. It's even paying Mauritius to take. And that is because of a decision by the UN Court of Justice. And Britain is the only permanent security council measure that actually abides by the decisions. The
I believe that countries that listen to the UN often end up getting undermined. I think China has had a very strong influence in these types of decisions, and it simply doesn't work anymore. If you consider the Security Council permanent members include Russia and China, how are we going to achieve what we need to achieve as Western allies with them on board? It doesn't work.
I'm really glad you also mentioned the Chagos Islands. You're leading me down a great path here for this interview. President Trump not happy that Great Britain may potentially give up control of those islands, specifically one part of the island that houses a UK-US military base. He writes the following on Truth Social. Shockingly, our quote-unquote brilliant NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is currently planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, citing the military base. The British do so for no reason whatsoever. Why is the UK transferring sovereignty of these islands now?
Well, it's because of the UN. So what has happened is the International Court of Justice on the UN has indicated that it believes it's wrong for the UK to have the Chagos Islands. And rather than challenging that, the UK government capitulated because the country is run by lawyers who believe in international law, they believe in human rights law. We've got a human rights lawyer in Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, and they are pretty willing to sell our British interests and sell our American interests in order to keep with international law. And what President Trump is doing is he's exposing that this whole thing is a complete myth. Because China doesn't abide by international law, Russia doesn't abide by international law. It's a system that doesn't work. So I think Britain, we've been complete mugs, frankly, and this is a wake-up call, and President Trump is calling it out.
And China, not exactly leading the way on human rights. They are, in many instances, the number one offender when it comes to human rights, and you have a human rights lawyer there now running the show there in your country. Are there any guarantees that Mauritius just won't back out of any leases, agreements it has with the UK, with the United States, and say, we're going to offer all this to China instead, which would give China a really great base of operations to potentially attack the United States?
Well, of course there's no guarantee that that won't happen. And if you look at what's happened to Hong Kong, what China have done there, none of these countries' words can be trusted, which is why the whole international rules-based order is a sham. The United Nations hasn't worked for ages. I think there are much better uses for the building in New York than what it currently is being used for. And I strongly encourage President Trump to follow through and start dismantling it as an organization, because it is driving these very bad decisions like the Chagos Island. Now, of course, Britain should be standing up for itself. Of course, we should refuse to abide by this judgment. But we have a Prime Minister who is beholden to these international institutions. And this is what we're seeing at Davos. We're seeing European leaders beholden to these international institutions, many of which have been infiltrated by China, and they need to be called out. And I can tell you that the people of Britain are not happy about this. We don't want to see these islands given away. It is being driven by the UN and by people in our country like Keir Starmer, who simply want to kowtow out to the UN. He wants to kowtow out to China. He's just approved a mega embassy in London, which will have in its basement spying facilities, so they're able to spy on critical internet cables, critical financial cables. He is just about to go to China to put his begging bowl out to President Xi, and I think it's absolutely right that President Trump is calling him out.
Liz Truss, so appreciate your insight. Former UK Prime Minister, really important insight provided this morning.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. If you click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Hope I make the cut!
Welcome back. China's top military general accused of leaking Beijing's nuclear weapons secrets to the United States. allegedly accepting bribes for official acts. The general has been Xi Jinping's most trusted military ally. This reportedly is part of a larger aggressive dismantling of China's military leadership, as Xi Jinping supposedly is cracking down on corruption and disloyalty. Some experts questioning whether this is impacting China's military readiness. Joining now is Keystone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. What do you think about this now? Because if Xi Jinping has been weakened, which we know that he has since having that mini stroke years ago, why is he taking out? Why is his lead military guy being taken out? Is that his decision?
We're sure a long
or
way
the
from
Politburo's
Big East.
decision? What are your thoughts on this case?
They hit Chipwood. Now might be a good time to stop them.
was actually taking out Xi Jinping's royalists in the military. What we do know, and there's a lot we don't, but what we do know is that the Communist Party is turmoil. The military is not that ready because the senior leadership has been annihilated, as someone said. Secrets to the U.S., but I think that clearly the state of the turmoil in China, anything can happen.
That was just a way to take him down.
That's my another name because John really didn't have that many ways of contacting the U.S. and passing along technical data. You know, anything is possible, Maria, but I think that this is an allegation that was made to justify General Zhang's arrest. Now, right now we're going to find out a lot more.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Now we know that there's the Davidson window where Admiral Davidson issued an expectation that China would go into Taiwan and try to take over by 2027 or in 2027. Is that still your expectation?
I was never a big fan of the Davidson window because I think there were a lot of internal reasons why China would not invade Taiwan even before this recent series of arrests. But this recent series of arrests means that the top leadership of the Chinese military is now gone. And I don't know how you can launch a combined air-land sea operation in such a state. Like, this doesn't mean that we are free from war, because Xi Jinping has a lot of incentive, more incentive now, to keep tensions high. And if he miscalculates and one of these incidents goes wrong, he can't de-escalate. So I still think the risk of war is high, but not for the reason that Admiral Davidson thought.
All right, let me move on to Canada because President Trump issued a stark warning to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. China, threatening 100% tariffs on Ottawa if something is signed. Now, I think Davos and to undermine the President of the United States. Right on thinks that he's going to make Canada a drop-off point for China to send goods and products into the United States. He is sorely mistaken. China will eat Canada alive, completely devour it, including the destruction of their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life. Gordon, what is your reaction to this deal that Carney is doing with Canada?
Well, first of all, this deal is not good for Canada from a number of different perspectives. But the problem here for Carney is that Canada ran a $63 billion trade surplus against the United States. Last year, it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $45 billion. But Canada's still in the surplus. We ran a services surplus against Canada, but overall trade surplus, they are in the good and we're in the bad. So that is going to be the defining factor. Canada needs the United States. We don't need Canada as much. I do think, though, that President Trump should tone down the rhetoric because we do need good relations with Ottawa because we have that long undefended border. And we do not need an Ottawa that is more aligned with Beijing than is with Washington. And that is the state right now. So we've got a serious problem that we've got to deal with.
Well, Lindsay, jump in. I'm not sure if you saw Carney's speech, Larry, but when he was talking to Davos, big talker in Davos. The president knew his customer, recognized that he knows that he's got to do a trade deal with the United States, and they're doing bilateral now. It's no longer USMCA, with Canada and Mexico will be in the same deal. Canada will have its own separate deal with the United States.
So, Gordon, it seems to me that one of the more aggressive things from Carney's speech was the idea that China was going to be invited to bring EVs into Canada. The reason that's aggressive is America, the United States, has really defended itself against cheap.
So, if this is such a big problem, Asmongold, what's the solution? What is your final solution, as they say? What is it? And seriously, like, what is, if this is a problem, what is the fix? Is it taking welfare away from them? Is that it? Why do you think that's good? Why do you think that's going to make their lives better? Why do you think it's going to make our lives better? How is it going to make anyone's life better to take their welfare away? Oh, I just... This is so brain dead. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway.
The title of this video is Inside the New York Town Invaded by Welfare-Addicted Jews. Okay, that sounds about right.
So, Tyler Oliveira, for any of you that have been following Tyler Oliveira for quite some time, this doesn't really surprise me. Okay, this kind of, you know, rhetoric doesn't surprise me. But I think it's maybe he definitely, when he was cooking up this video, he was reading the room. Okay, but I think maybe he went a little too far with this one. I think maybe perhaps this isn't really gonna resonate with the audience he is looking for it to resonate with. Because I think that the demographic, the target demographic for this is twofold. Okay, it's liberals, which it's not going to work on,
those are bad guys.
And it's extreme racists, okay, which it will work on slightly, but not really, because Tyler Oliveira is a libtard. Okay, he's not really. Okay, he's not even a libtard. He's like a right-leaning moderate. He's actually very in line with that politically, I think. But he's just kind of a woke-tard. You know, that's how they'll view him. That's it. I think Tyler is probably slightly more moderate than Asmongold a little bit. But...
Yeah. This is Curious Joel. Yid? A village of 44,000 Hasidic Jews in upstate New York that primarily speak Yiddish have an average of 7 kids per family. How many kids do most? 7 kids? 17, 18. They've got 17, 18 kids. It's one of the poorest. How do they afford it? I wonder how. In America, with 40% living beneath the federal poverty line, many men here are religiously studying the Torah full-time, heavily reliant. Whoa, wait a minute. You are religiously studying the Torah full-time.
Yeah, man.
Bro, what is that? Jesus, that's a small hat. Oh my god!
Yeah, actually I haven't seen those before.
And welfare in the form of Medicaid, housing vouchers, food stamps, and
holy
cash
shit!
To support their giant families that God
Were
commanded them to have.
those
and
hats?
The village enforces strict gender roles, honest dress codes, and sends their kids to private religious schools. And why is it okay for Jewish people to live together in a homogenous Jew-only community, but it's illegal when white people try to build their own? I'm curious for myself to see what's going on.
Okay. Alright, so, yeah. You know, never mind. I said he was more moderate than Asmongold just a second ago. What the fuck was I thinking, man? God damn, at least he used to kind of pretend to be a liberal. What the fuck? What the hell?
What does it take to be a member? Do I have to be Jewish center? Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the schedule exactly, but 9 o'clock sharp, they're not at work.
So nobody's working? No, so the government just pays these fuckers to sit around and do nothing?
My strength is increased.
Oh my god.
Okay, so I guess everyone's praying right now. You gotta wonder what these people do for employment.
Yeah, what do they do?
Mexicans out here doing hard labor, and the Jews do.
The Mexicans out here are doing hard labor, and what are the Jews doing?
I'm not sure what they do.
The Jews, I'm not sure what they do.
Maybe we can ask this guy. Excuse me.
All right.
Nah. You don't know? All right, so question for you, sir. Right, okay. Different hours? Okay. What do people do for work?
They hit a checkpoint.
He's not a news reporter. I don't want to talk. Yeah, I bet. How many hours? Spider-Man! 3 hours. Holy shit. 9 to 5? Yes. Like what industries are they involved in here?
Construction, all other type of industries.
Uh-huh.
And
What do you do?
I'm a student, and also I'm doing home care.
What are you studying?
I'm studying poetry.
Home care. Uh-oh. I've seen this one before. What?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Who pays for education? I try to work on overtime.
Overtime?
Yes.
That's good. Good for him.
I work home care.
Judge!
Yeah.
Jury!
How many kids? How do you afford to raise 2 kids while being a student? Because I work very hard. I want to study, so I'm very proud.
How do you afford to study before that?
God help me.
The American God help me. Is God the American taxpayer? Sure, help you do?
Yes.
Yep. Now we're starting up. How many people out here are on like welfare, like housing assistance or Section 8 or EBT, SNAP, Medicare?
Yes.
And that allows you to study the Torah?
Yes.
Raise your kid?
Yes, thank you.
How many kids do most people have out here?
17, 18.
A lot of people don't understand because these people are white how neglected they historically have been and the persecution that they face in New York. People don't remember this. They don't. But in 1933, okay, I know, 100 years ago. In 1933, there was a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden in America. America was a hostile place for Jewish people back then. And arguably, it has continued to be in many ways, despite the support for the Israeli homeland. Okay, basically, if you're Jewish and you want to go to the homeland, you want to go to Israel, then we love that. Oh yeah, we'll support you. We'll pay you. We'll go steal a house for you from a Palestinian, and you can have it. Okay, we'll do all that shit for you. But if you're here, you get dick. You get fucking nothing. That's how it is. Okay, and so I think that people look at Jews in this country, Americans look at Jews in this country, and they think that they get special treatment, right? That they see all of the corruption in our government around Zionism and around Israel, and they think that because of that like Jews are elevated in society. They're not. Look at these people. Look at them. They are living in abject poverty. And yet, here you have famous fucking middle of the road, I'm a moderate, Tyler Oliveira saying, yeah, look at these guys. Jews are elevated in society. They're not. Look at these people. Look at them. They are living in abject poverty. And yet, here you have famous...
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Try and keep yourself under control, Wanda.
Control chaos?
All right, we go back to the chaos
really
in Minneapolis
don't understand.
and to a Fox News alert.
I'm glad I brought along an extra deck.
Multiple sources telling Fox News Bill Mallusion, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, and some, not all, Border Patrol agents are leaving Minneapolis as soon as tomorrow. More on that as we get it. But in the meantime, a big talking point on the left has been that all of this has never been about immigration. With states like California and Texas, illegal immigration population far above that of Minnesota. But we're digging into why this chaos is happening in Minnesota, but not other places.
Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. If Governor Walz and Mayor Fry implement these common sense blocking measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions.
The numbers back that up when it comes to states working with the Fed. A recent report shows Texas and Florida are the top 2 states for ICE arrests. Is that because those areas cooperate with the federal government on enforcement. Joining me now, former acting ICE director Jonathan Fate. Jonathan, let's just clarify the talking point and the reality. The talking point is that all of this is going on in Minnesota for political reasons, and that they're not concentrating resources, DHS, in places like Texas and Florida where there are more illegal immigrants. Stats show, in fact, there are more arrests happening in Texas and like they do in Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. They've had 40,000 people arrested and deported from Florida. And it is all political, but not the way they're making it seem. It's political because of people like Fry and Waltz insisting on these sanctuary cities doing everything they can to thwart ICE and make their job harder, thereby inviting more ICE agents in. So yes, it's political, but on their part, and they want this fight. And your earlier conversation with Julian was just spot on about democracy. Our democracy can't work if laws are not enforced. But remember what Minnesota is doing. The most important part of the Democrats' open border scheme is to keep the illegal aliens here for electoral reasons. That's all this is about. They don't care about keeping ICE out. They care about keeping illegal aliens here. And that's what it's about, but it's politics, but on the other side.
The mechanical detail that makes the numbers disproportionate in terms of presence on the streets of Minneapolis versus, say, the streets of Dallas is that if a locality honors an ICE detainee, then it only takes one ICE agent to pick up a criminal or illegal alien from a jail. So if you, like they do with under Jacob Fry in Minneapolis, release the criminal back on the streets, now it takes a team to go get that guy on the streets. But I do want to ask you about this breaking news, Jonathan. Greg Bovino and some Border Patrol might be leaving Minneapolis as soon as tomorrow. It's hard to interpret that. I would have to think the mob, the chaos, the insurgents will take that as a victory.
Yeah, that would be a concern that they take it as a victory. But one way of looking at it, they've been very effective. I think they've removed 3,000 people during the surge, so they've really probably got most of what they initially went in there for. And maybe during that call between President Trump and Governor Waltz, there were some assurances of some cooperation between ICE and the local officials, and maybe that's part of the deal. Hey, because you're right, all you need is one guy to get him out of the jail. And Todd Lyons was talking about the other day on Fox that you need 10 to 15 agents now, because now you need agents to protect agents, and it's still far more unsafe. So hopefully they're getting cooperation, but they have been very effective putting all this aside in terms of arresting illegal aliens and criminally illegal aliens in Minnesota.
Yeah, but you go into the streets to arrest these guys with a team of 10 or 15, and then you also have to protect your own flank from the rioters in the streets. You have to protect yourself from, the trash cans, the armed rioters, and so forth, the brick throwers, the car rammers. It's just a spiraling situation based upon the idea that you won't enforce democratic laws. We'll see if that changes. We'll see if Waltz and Fry actually violate their own sanctuary city policies now to hand over the final remaining violent criminals, illegal aliens, to the federal government. John, thank you so much for your time.
The battle starts in 5.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
You're about to find out.
Looks like we've got ourselves a target.
I am strengthened for battle.
Deep reckoning is now underway tonight. A government contractor
creatures have risen from around the world.
behind bars. He is accused of using highly sensitive material about U.S. military operations. Documents during a search warrant at the home of the Washington Post.
By the eye of our
Missionary is yours.
Does that mean I can start redecorating it now?
The leaker has been found, and the leaker's in jail, and will probably be in jail for a long time. Let's see what happens.
All right, here with more U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is with us. Madam Attorney General, great to have you. All right, when we're talking about leaking about a military
Looks like we've got ourselves a target.
Somebody has top security
world!
Hell unleashed! In April, I did a memo rescinding Merrick Garland's memo saying that reporters will not be suspended. We will not look at reporters.
You've captured more than half of the mission area.
Because we
Keep going.
have to protect
Control lost.
our classified information
The Sorcerer
and the heroic
Supreme
men and women
returns.
in the military. And Sean, the First Amendment is a bedrock principle, but this isn't about that. This is about classified material that could jeopardize lives. And this guy, this
powerful
IT guy, that works for the Department of War, and he himself has been amazing, and he's up against a lot with these people. This guy that worked, he's a contractor, IT contractor, who had classified information in charge
Hope I make the cut!
classified information involving a foreign adversary who could jeopardize the lives, the safety of our men and women in the military. So today, it's been
By the eye of Agamotto!
executed a search warrant at the director of Hospital and my office found the reporter's home, seizing the devices,
Namor has called for action from the dead. Your team's captured progress is the halfway point.
and that's what we're looking into now. But the guy from the IT department is in jail. President Trump has made it very clear, you will not jeopardize the men and women in the military. You will not lose classified information.
Tentacles are my thing!
Maybe that could be incoming! What if something is sentence classified and
If the reporter had no idea it's classified, we have the right to have that returned.
Behold the God of Thunder!
I can't talk about the facts of this case because right now it's just a search warrant to retrieve the information that belongs to the Department of War. But the guy who works for the Department of War, he is in jail, and he should remain in jail.
The doctor is in.
let's move on to Minnesota.
Let's keep fighting until we have a winner.
Multiple employees now that have resigned. They don't like the fact that there's an investigation into some of these groups called that you can purchase, believe it or not, which is insane. And they don't want to be a part of this. Keep your tentacles to yourself. They might be financing instances that would be putting ICE agents' lives in jeopardy. Especially in light of
the darkness
an 8,000% increase in the threat level and a 1,300% increase in, attacks against these guys.
Sean, we support Secretary Noem. We support our men and women of Homeland Security and ICE who are out there taking predators off the street every day around the country, and they're doing it in Minnesota. What happened in Minnesota? We have 6 prosecutors who decided we were going to support the men and women in ICE. One of them was busy doing a photo shoot with the New York Times while ICE was out there risking their lives. So,
Behold the God of Thunder!
Us against the world! Let's keep fighting until we have a winner.
Our U.S. Attorney, he's great. He was just confirmed 3 months ago. So he has his hands full, and that's what we're facing around the country, the deep state, in many of these offices. And we learned these people had been out there interviewing at liberal law firms prior to this. But I'll tell you what, from a personnel level, they'd be an HR nightmare. So people better look into them. One of them actually in 2022 defended BLM when they burned down a pawn shop and someone was murdered. Yeah, they want to be part of the resistance. Yeah, bring it on. They're not going to be working for Donald Trump and the Department of Justice any longer. But that's what we're up against, not only in Minnesota, but around this country.
That's almost